welcome to all of you. I'm sure many of you are still joining. There are a lot of students who travel and it takes a little time for them to join us, but that's okay. We will start with the introductions. And before we go on with the session, I know you guys are waiting for one very coveted thing. And before we begin that, let me just speak and address a few points because I know that many of you today will be joining us for the first time. And first of all, welcome all of you. If you're not completely aware about IBC CEP, then here's what you should know. The most important thing about CEP. So CEP is basically the Continuous Education Program. I know you all know about it by now. But uh, what you need to know is that CEP is one of the most complete education program on IBC on blockchain and Web3 out there. In this program, we are taking you from the basics up to the advanced level to make sure that we are comprehensive and effective in covering the topics of blockchain. Our experts here have divided the entire CEP program in 3 modules. So module 1, which is the orientation, where we lay down the foundation of this program and discuss with you the basics of the industry. Module 2 is where we basically teach you coding through our in-depth technical sessions. And right now we are in module 2. Post that, we will learn how to build apps and other projects, and that will be our module 3. So in this entire process, you will gain knowledge and skills required to be a blockchain developer. And the most amazing part of this entire exercise is the internship certificates that you earn at the end of the program. Now, I know there may be a couple of questions, and one of the questions that I hear often from students who join for the first time is basically, if they are joining here, let's say somebody has joined us for the first time today, will they still be eligible for the certificates? The answer to that is yes, but it's not a complete yes, because a lot of it depends on the commitment that you show here on. If you are participating in each of the sessions, let's say beginning today, and attempt the quizzes that we do at the end of the program, at the end of each of the sessions, and then you also give out your answers and try out the assignments that we do at the end of the session, each session. And furthermore, if you keep bothering us with questions on Discord, trying to figure out problems that we discuss in our sessions, then we will be able to track your passion to learn. And that will definitely increase your chances to earn that coveted certificate. All of these activities by you will matter. Although we have set the minimum attendance for getting the certificates, but if you couldn't join us earlier, we don't want you to miss this opportunity. But that will only happen. I mean, the certificates will be given to you only if you show us how committed you are to learn. And trust me, we won't let you down. But it shouldn't be like that, like you attend us today and then you again miss a couple of sessions and then join back and then you're asking us, sir, we attended 2 sessions, we are not getting the certificate. See, we need to see the commitment coming out of you in learning the entire learning about Web3 and blockchain, because that certificate that you earn holds value. And students, this right in front of you is an incredible opportunity. We can't emphasize it enough. You need to suck the life out of this moment and do your best to learn everything you can from us. And we have kept the resources of the world, if you see, in the Web3 and blockchain industry at your feet. All you have to do is that you have to grab it. Praveen sir, would you like to add anything before we move on to the leaderboard?
No, I think, Deepak, good evening, everyone. My name is Praveen Thakur, and I work in the capacity of Chief Operating Officer for IBC Media. And I know I have been talking to all of you. In fact, I have spoken to all of you several times in the last few sessions. But re-emphasizing the fact that we do understand that you may have some other commitments in which may have forced you to be out of the sessions for a day or two. But then the good news is that we have put all these sessions on our YouTube channel, IBC Media, and we will be posting the link again in the group today. So if, say, for example, for any reason, if you happen to miss any of these any of these sessions, please do go to the channel and make sure that you finish that part, right? And at the end of the day, what is important here is that the learning opportunity that IBC Media is providing here. So we definitely, like Deepak mentioned, we are tracking several parameters in terms of your quizzes, in terms of your participation, in terms of your even we do take care of take note of your interactions within the sessions as well, what kind of questions you are asking. And the certificate, like I said earlier, this is an internship certificate at the end of the day, which will make you industry ready, right? So I think we definitely are, while we have laid down the requirement of attendance, but then we definitely want the idea of that is not to be a hardliner in terms of attendance, but the idea of that is to ensure that you learn through this process. And as I had told in my previous session as well, that Rust is one of the very foundational languages, which is so important in the blockchain world, which is so important in Web3 world. Now, the reason is that there are several platforms, several protocols or L1s, which are based on Rust language, right? So what we are telling you right now is, to grab the concepts of the Rust programming language, which will make you ready. And I will tell you, Rust is something which is the future of Web3 programming. So don't leave any effort in learning this to the extent possible. And then, of course, we will be getting into the Polkadot substrate framework in the later classes. So at the end of the day, please make sure that you do your best in terms of getting to the fundamentals. Yeah, Deepak, that's pretty much from my side.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much. So guys, let's heed the words that our COO, Mr. Praveen Thakur, has said just now. And let's begin working on what we are trying to achieve here. And before we begin with the sessions, let's get back to our leaderboard for last quiz. I'm sure all of you are waiting for that. Okay. Yeah. So number one, we have Kunapaneni Sahiti at 17 out of 20. And then we have Ritika Singh, Sri Pujita Thamma. All of you have received 17 out of 20, which is the highest marks in the past quiz. So congratulations to you guys. As I've discussed earlier, there are names that keep repeating. So guys, keep up the good work. The new names that keep coming in this leaderboard, guys, I can't tell you how good it feels to see these names pop up who were maybe at around 8 or 10 in the last session, and then they come over 15. It's really exciting to see that. And then we have Venku Mahanti Shubhankar, 16 out of 20. Sorry, I missed Ganesh Pagulu at 16 out of 20. Then we have T. Akshay Kumar Gaud, 16 out of 20. Rajula Devi Akanksha, 16 out of 20. Shiva Prasad Kotimukla, Rakshita Sakumuri, S. Sai Sushant, Shiva Prasad Kotimukula. So guys, congratulations to you for scoring 16 out of 20. That's amazing. And we have Ram Ganesh Lankada, who received 15 out of 20. So just to lay down the parameters, guys, first of all, congratulations to all the 12 people who made it to the leaderboard, and everybody who couldn't. And to the students who are joining us for the first time, just know that we create a leaderboard for each of the quizzes that happen. And then we basically have kept 15 as the benchmark. Once you touch 15, you get your name on the leaderboard. And all of these names that I'm speaking here are the people who have scored 15 or 15 plus in the past quiz. Now, without spending any more time, guys, congratulations once again. Keep working hard. To all the people who might have missed the leaderboard this time, wish you all the best in the coming quiz today at the end of the session. And yeah, let's begin. Selva sir, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Requesting you to kindly take the session ahead. And guys, one more quick thing that I would like to update. If you have any questions regarding the quiz or the assignments, make sure you ping us in the Discord server. Our experts will be helping you out I mean, not during the question, not during the time where you are attempting the quiz, but obviously after that. Like, for example, you didn't know the answer, but you want to figure out what the answer should have been. So you can just take a screenshot or copy the question and paste it on Discord later on, and we will address it for you. So all the best, guys. Salva sir, welcome again, and requesting you to take the conversation ahead.
Thank you, Deepak. By the way, Deepak Chaudhary, are you going to discuss about the previous quiz?
Yeah, no, you can continue, sir. If anyone has any doubt, they can ping me on Discord. I'll sort them out.
Okay. Okay, fine. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another session on Rust. And today we are going to talk about enums, and we are also going to talk about the match operator, followed by the collection. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that. So let me share my screen. Deepak, could you turn your video off, Deepak Singh, so that this window closes off?
1 second, sir. Is it fine now?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project for today's session. So I'll call this session 5. I would have created this earlier, but unfortunately, my laptop actually hung and I had to restart it. Right. So let's go ahead and show this. Okay. So first off, let's look at enums. Enums and pattern matching. Okay. So enums are nothing but enumeration. It's a short form for enumeration. Okay. And what they do is they allow you to define a type by enumerating the possible variants. So this is the actual definition. Okay. For enums. So why are enums important? So that is something that you really have to understand, and we'll see how we can define the enum, okay, and how we make use of it, right? So there's nice discussion on enums given in here. I will be taking up a similar example from here, and then I'll show you how these things actually work. And also we will be talking about the match operator, okay, which is again a control flow constructor in there, right? And how we use it with the enum, because the match operator actually goes very closely with the enum. Okay, so let us start with the match operator to start with, because that is easier to follow along. So match operator. Now, a match operator, this is actually, if you look at it, the match operator is similar to, it is similar, it is not the same, okay? Similar to the switch statement. Okay. However, the difference is that the match operator actually uses pattern matching. It's not exactly equality testing that it does, like you have it in the switch statement. Okay. Right. So let me explain. So what I'll do is I'll just pick some code, okay, from the standard itself. So I have here flow control. Right. So I'll just copy this code and put it over there for running, and then okay. So basically, how we use match is that you have a match, okay, followed by an expression, and then the values of the expression. Okay. So let me do it in a very simple fashion there. So let's say I have let number equal to say 15. Okay. And I want to check, okay, so for various conditions. So I can always say match followed by expression or a variable. So number, and then followed by this. So this is how you do that, match followed by the number, and then you have these conditions. So how you put this up is, like for instance, you put the value you want to test it against, followed by if this value matches, what do you want to do? Okay. So what you want to do is like this. So I have a 1, and then so I can say print line 1 like this, and you can have multiple such statements. So like this, okay, multiple match criteria, right? Okay. So I have 1 followed by a comma, and then I want to test it for, let's say, 5 or say 2. And 2. Okay. And then let's say this. So when you do it like this, what happens is that you can see non-exhaustive pattern. Okay, non-exhaustive pattern. So basically, what the compiler is doing is that it knows that you have used number, okay, but and you are testing this number against 1 and 2, and you're not testing it against any other value. Like for instance, you see that right now the value is like say 15, right? So what happens when the number is 15? The match operator has to do something, right? Therefore, you use for every other condition which is not a match, you use the underscore. You say, okay, match any, and then you say print line some other value. And now when I say this, the error is gone. And now you can actually run this and see. Okay. Okay, some other value, right? You can also test for multiple values. Okay, like for instance, let's say I want to test it for 3 or so for multiple values, you put a pipe symbol. Okay, 5 or say 7 and let's say 9. For these 4 values, I want to say print line. Okay. Odd value less than 10. Oh, sorry, odd value less than 10. And put a comma there. Save this. Now let's run this again. Okay. It says some other value. Okay. So if I put this as, let's say, 5. Okay. And save this. Now let me run this and see. It says odd value less than 10. Okay. You can also test it for a range of values. Okay. So for instance, I can give a range, let's say 10 all the way up to 20. Okay. You can give ranges and again lines, and then say okay. Between 10 and 20. Okay. And put a comma there. And let's set this as 15. Okay. Now we run this. Sorry. Okay. Exclusive range syntax is experimental. Why did I? Oh, exclusive range. Okay. So put an equal to. Yeah. So it needs to include this value, right? So that's what it is. Okay. Okay. Number between 10 and 20. Suppose if I give another range, let's say 15 to 25. Okay. And print line. Between 15 and 25. And save this. Okay. Just guess what will happen is if I give a value say 15, it will match here. Okay. And let's say if I give say 17, okay, let's say I put this value as 17. Save this and try to run this. Between 10 and 20. It is not coming between 15 and 20. The reason being, the match will be carried out in the order, in the sequence in which you are given. So first it will test against 1 and 2, and then 3 or 5 or 7 or 9. And I put this value, so 10 to 20. So this is a match. So once it finds a match, it executes this statement and then simply comes out. Okay. Right? Okay. Now, you can also do it like this. Say, for instance, what we do is, let's say I want to say print whether the number is even or odd. Okay. So I have this number, so I can always do a match, and I can take that value and I can actually return that value. So instead of executing some piece of code, and of course, yes, you can have multiple lines of code also. Okay, that is also allowed. So let's say I want to test whether it is even or not. Okay, is even, and then I can put an equal to, and then I can use a match. And match I can give a this thing. What is that expression? Okay, So the expression would be number is divisible by 2. So this would be my expression. Okay. And then I guess say true. And I want to return a value, so I'll just write and false. And then I can, so basically what I'm doing, for the value true, I'm actually returning true. For value false, I'm returning value false. Okay. Now, and here I can just do a print line. Okay. Number is a number and is even and so is. So I'm just injecting the values right inside the print line. Now, I'm sorry, typo. Expected integer on the bool. Oh, sorry. I have to match it against 0 and I have to match it against 1. Well, this expression is actually okay. Now what? Number percent true. Okay. Now I can just put an underscore. Okay. Because it is a number, right? So okay, this will take care of. Okay. Okay. Number 17 is even, it's false. Right. So you can take the result of a match operator. So in which case, everything should return a value. One more thing you have to understand is that suppose if I put say 100 in here and I say, okay, you'll start getting an error. So match arms have incompatible types. Expected bool found an integer. So when you do a match, the data type of these values against which you are matching, they should be the same type. Okay, the values that you're returning, where it is expecting a Boolean value, right? So whereas it is finding a, so therefore you have to keep this in mind as well. Okay. Right. This is your match operator. Okay. Right. Is there any questions? Seventeen is not okay. Is even yeah, is even is false. We are testing whether it is even or not. Since it is odd, okay, I am getting a false. But if I put, let's say instead of 17, I put 16. There it is, and run it. I should get a true. 16 is even. Okay. Right. So I think you misinterpreted the output. Okay. Right. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So now let's see enums. Okay. Let's talk about enum. So we can create an enum type using the enum keyword. Okay. And then you can give it a name. You have to give a name. So let's say, and also just like struct, you have to use Pascal case for this. Okay. So let's say payment. Okay. And you can give values, like for instance, cash. Okay. Or let's say check. Okay. So this is how you define. So you say payment and then the cash. So see, automatically it gives a value to it, 0, and then check is actually 1. The behavior is quite like, you know, C, C++ or other languages where you use the enum. Okay. Right. Now, what we can do is we can now define our main function. So you can define, let's say for instance, I'm giving this, you know, so you can create variables. So let's say let P1 is assigned. Okay, so you can give payment and then cash like this. Okay. So you put a double colon symbol and then followed by the actual enum value. Okay, so it has automatically detected that this is of type enum, payment enum. Okay, and now I want to display whether the payment was done by cash or by check. So what I can do is I can just say, now I can use the match operator. So match becomes very useful in conjunction with payment. Sorry, with the enum. Okay, so match P1. I'll say okay. So if it is a cash, okay, payment cash, okay, print line, say, paying by cash, and then you see you're still getting a squiggly line. That's because when you're matching against an enum, your match operator must consider all the cases within the enum. So right now, since check is missing, therefore you are getting this squiggly line. It says, hey, missing arm, check not covered. See that? So for check also you have to do. So payment check, and then a print line, paying by check. Right? That's it. Okay. Where in check? So okay, so I have to use this. It has already found that you know. I just put check is never constructed. Okay, that's fine. Code, and I think I have to use there's one more thing that we need to do.
Salva sir, extremely sorry to interrupt. I'll just take
Yeah.
3 seconds. So,
Sure.
guys, you have to make sure that you log in each session using the same email ID that that you have used earlier. You will use the same email ID to submit your assignments. You will use the same email ID to submit your quizzes. Otherwise, we won't be able to track your progress for the entire session, and that will become a problem during the uh, uh, certificate distribution process. So make sure you do that. And secondly, if you are multiple people using a single account and logging in through that, do not do that. You will be tracked as only one member. So multiple people, if you're joining, do not join from the same account. Join using your own individual accounts. So be careful about that. Sorry, sir, please get.
There is also, I think we have to add some annotation which I'm forgetting. Variant check is never constructed. Okay, let's see. I forgot that annotation that hopefully, oh, this is good. Variant check is never constructed. Okay, so for now, I think Deepak Chaudhary, do you remember that annotation that needs to be used? I've forgotten that annotation.
Sorry, can you please repeat?
So when you clear it and enum, right, like this. So
Yeah.
here it is linting error we are getting that check is not constructed. There is one. Okay, so variant not constructed. Let's just check it out.
It's showing error in the number divided by 2, number mod 2.
No. Variant is never constructed.
Sorry, Selva sir, this will be a good way to demonstrate if people are getting errors while
Debugging.
coding.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I think you should take this opportunity to show them the process, basically.
All right. So basically, see, so in fact, I mean, I'm a seasoned programmer, but even I can make mistakes. Okay, so I'm just showing if that is the case, how to deal with this. So there is no place anywhere in the program there's allow dead code. By putting this before the enum or individually before intentionally unused items, you can make the warning disappear. During development, there is various scenarios on the other hand. But they are saying that allow dead code on every enum variant. So I have put this up on the enum, right? Yeah, I have put it up on the enum. On dead code. Okay, so let's check that. Let's see what they have. Enum variant level structure. So again, as you can see, these are all actually, custom traits that are being added. So, where is the add derived debug. I did see somewhere, so let's check this out. Okay. See what is error. Check is not. Okay. So, see, this is how you need to debug your code. Get code link for variant of public,
So while Silva sir helps you guys
Yeah.
understand the debugging process, I want to just let you know that Silva sir was not feeling well, but then he was so committed that he didn't want to miss the session. So I think we all do appreciate. Thank you, Silva sir, for taking the session today.
You're most welcome. We are there to serve our students and participants.
Yeah, thank you again.
I think it is coming from the linter for every type. So okay, so what we can do is we can avoid by adding this. Oh, sorry. That can do this. Allowed it. Detect unused and exported items also. So why is it saying inner attribute is not permitted? Or is it fixed? Yeah. Now this. So I have to, instead of one, okay. I was supposed to use allow, but I actually ended up using. See there, it's a small mistake. Okay, right. So now that we are, doing a pattern match, so that's the reason why this is not a switch rate. It's actually called as a match. Okay. And if you see here, when you control flow based on pattern matching. So it's actually based on pattern matching, not equality of values. Remember this is very important. Okay. Right. And you can see some code in here. Okay. So now if I run this, fantastic. So we are paying by cash. Okay. Right. Now, usually what happens is, if you put a comma after the last entry also, Rust compiler will not complain. And in fact, it's actually a good practice to have it so that tomorrow when you want to add, it will become a habit of yours. So whenever you add new entries into it, somewhere in between also. Okay. So you know that, or if you move these values up and down also, okay, your code will not have any compilation issue. Okay. Let's see. Thank you so much. Okay, right. So you can also pass in a value into this. Okay. So for instance, let's say I use debit card and I set some amount. Okay. So I have I can set a value as well. So okay, so it is just expecting a type. Okay, so in this case, now remember, so you see immediately the moment you added this, okay, what happened here is that you started getting error because you have not covered the debit card on for the match. Okay, right. So what we can do, we can say payment debit card. Okay, and let's say I pass in a value. So let's that amount, and then I say front line and amount paid by debit card. Okay, and inside the match also at the end you can put a comma, and if I say this, so the error is gone. But so what I'll do is I'll say okay, I'll have another payment P2, and I'll say this is payment by debit card, and I pass in a value. The value is, let's say, 500. Okay, and then I can do the same thing. I'll have and as this time around, I'll match it with P2. Right, and now if I run this, amount 500 paid by debit card. Okay. Now, suppose so this is now what is happening. Basically, it is doing a pattern match for this, and what it does, whatever data you have passed in here, okay, that is put up here as amount, and then that value can be used inside of the code that you give here. Okay, right? That's a match operator, and it's extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful, and it ensures that whenever you're so think of this. Let's say I want the default case. So this one that you see here, match anything. This is just like your default case of C, C++ now, right? Underscore. So underscore means anything, whichever has not matched. And again, remember the matching happens in the order in which you are giving these values. Okay. Right. So this is how you can use the enums. Okay. And then you can use them within your code. Right. Now the question is, why would I want to do it like this? Why to use enums in the first place? Now that's the question, because I'm telling you, if you are coming from C, C++ background, and most of the even many of the good programmers, they tend to stay away from enums, but enums are actually very powerful. Why they tend to stay away from enums is that primarily the reason being that let's say for instance I'll give you an example. So let's say you have a bank account. the bank account, and you have a bank account structure in which you have a account type, and you set it to an integer value. And then you say, okay, this is bank account, account type is 1 means savings, 2 means, current account, 3 means a fixed deposit, like that. So in the code, what you will do is for different, account types, you will be writing code. If account type equal to 1, then you do this. If account type is 2, then you do this. Account type is 3, then you do this. When you do like that, what happens is somebody who is looking at the code, okay, they need to know exactly, okay, they have to go back to the definition and see. So they would not know whether this actually, if account type equal to 1 means savings account, or account type 2 means, current account, or which is also called as checking account in US terms, or you have account type equal to 3, then it is fixed deposit. So somewhere in the documentation, this information has to be provided so that the programmer can actually say make changes to the code or whatever may be. This becomes a big hassle. But instead, if they use enum type, then it is pretty clear. If the account type is, okay, account type is, say, savings, or account type is, current account type is fixed deposit. Okay, so the code becomes very verbose, and it's pretty easy to actually understand the code, and you'll be in a much better position to, add features or modify features, whatever purpose you are referring that code to. So the code readability increased to a great deal, and not to mention a combination of enum with match is a deadly combination. Okay. Any questions here, please? Again, remember, one more thing I want to tell you is that please refer to the documentation. Okay, there is so much more that you can possibly do. Okay, so much more that you can possibly do. Like for instance, in the match, you can also write an entire block of code like this. Okay, entire block of code can be written. And you can pass in enums into functions, and you can, just like structures and stuff like that. Right. Now, you can also give values inside of the enum, just like you do in C and C++ as well. Like for instance, I want to show. Let's see, defining an enum. So one is just give the string, that's it. Okay. But if you want, you can actually provide a value also. So let me, I think somewhere here they have given this as well. Okay. I think it's not here. You can assign these a value. Okay. Like for instance, I think you can create an enum type, let's say enum, and then you say, okay, say, and enum is say account type. Okay, and here I say, okay, it's quite common to use all uppercases, and I can say this is 10, something like this, savings for say current account, I give a value 20. And say fixed underscore deposit, and you can give it a value to 30. This is also allowed. Okay. And then again, you are having should have camel case. You should have an upper camel case. Okay. let's just saving. Current. Don't worry, this is one that goes to that. Okay. So you can give. So now when you come at here, so you see the value is 10. Here for the fixed deposit it is 30, and for current it is 20. And you can use this as well. So if you want to provide values, otherwise automatically default what happens? The first entry will be having 0, second entry will have a value of 1, and so on, so forth. Okay. So this way you can use enums along with match to write a really powerful program. Okay. Really powerful program. Right. If there's any question, please. So I put a allow dead code on this enum also, so that the line is gone. Is there any question?
Okay. You can
No. Right. The next thing that we are going to discuss are the collection. Okay. And mainly we are going to talk about the vector and the hash map. Okay. And there are a lot of collections available. We are going to discuss vector and hash map, or you have other data types as well. Okay, and you can refer to the documentation. So let's go to the collections, the common collections. Okay, you have a vector. String is also a collection of characters. Okay, string is also a collection, and then you have the hash map. So vector allows you to store a variable number of values next to each other. So it's actually vector will look like an array, but this is growable. It can grow and shrink. Okay. String is a collection of characters, and then you have the hash map that allows you to associate a value with a particular key. Okay, it's a particular implemented more generic data structure called as the map. Okay, and you can actually look into the documentation, and here it is, std collection. This is the library, and then you can see these are all. So sequence types are vector, vector deck, and linked list. Okay. Then you have for the map, you have hash map and B-tree map. Sets, you have hash set and B-tree set. And for miscellaneous, you have binary set. And here, when you should use which collection. So you can see there's a nice description when to use what. Okay. Read through this. So Deepak, do the participants have access to chat? No.
So they can, if they have any queries and if they want to respond, they can just put their response in Q&A.
For instance, I want to share this link.
Yeah, so you can just put it. You can put the chat. Yeah, no, you can just put it in the chat, sir, and over there the option to everyone, and everybody will get it.
Okay.
So if you just open the chat.
Everyone. Right. Okay, right.
Okay.
Will
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Okay, they cannot chat, but they can read the chat, right? I guess so.
They will get it in their chat. Yeah, they will get it in the chat.
Okay. But they will not be able to use the chat to. Put
Yeah,
up
they will
messages.
not be
Right,
able
okay.
to put. If they
Right.
want to put anything, they can put in the Q&A.
So here it is, guys. So this is the page which you should really read. And the next thing, you have to talk about the performance. Okay. So what is the order of operations? So if it is vector, when you try to get an item, you get order of 1, inserting order of n minus I, remove, append, split off. So all these, Vigo notation is given in order for you to understand how these things actually work. Okay. And how to use them in a correct and efficient use, in the correct and efficient usage of collections part, the capacity management, the iterators, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let us create a vector. Okay, so we start with vectors. Okay, so and remember they are quite easy to use, but if you are coming from C, C++ or Java background, there is again remember this being a low-level language, there are some intricacies that you have to be aware of. Okay, which is what I will show you. So suppose I want to create a vector. Okay, so what is the simplest way? The simplest way to create a vector is use the vector new. Okay, this is how you create a vector. And if you want, so if I say let v1 is assigned, okay, and then vec and then new. Okay, right, and also I will put the annotation. Okay, and unused bar. Variables. Okay. Now, if you see here, you are still getting. Consider giving, okay, v1 an explicit type. Okay, so now right now, if you create a vector, it doesn't know what kind of values you're going to store. Okay, so in the newer version of Rust, you have to be explicit about it. So I say, okay, I want to create a vector of type I32. And I save this. Now you can see. Okay. So I think so. Want to create a typed vector. Okay, so what is the thing? Some small amount of changes. Use this instead of this. Okay. I32. Okay, so you have a game like okay. Oh, their syntax has changed. You see, which I was not aware of. Okay, because if you look at the documentation in here, so it is vec I32 like this. Okay, right. So now you can see vec I32. But when you are creating, you have to give this type with double colon type and then double colon followed by the function you want to use. So this will create a new vector. And how do you put items into it? So you say, okay, v1 dot push and then put an item, let's say 10. Okay. Now the moment you put that, you're going to get an error. Okay. Cannot borrow v1 as mutable. So when you're pushing items into the vector, what will happen? The vector will change. which means that the V1 should be mutable. Okay. So therefore, I have to define this as mutable vector. Then only I can push the value, right? And then V1 dot push say 20. And V1 dot push say 99. Okay. Now let's say, and also let's add derived debug. Okay, so let me do that. So if I want to print this out, I'll say print line, and then I want to print it out. So again, I have to use question mark, and then I put V1. Okay, but then again here what happens? Was we missing a string? Oh, all right. So I have to start. Okay. Now let's print it out and see. Okay. Okay. So we're getting 10, 20, and 99. Okay. There's one way of. Now you can also iterate through the iterating through the vector. So you can use the for loop to do that. Okay, so you can say for number in V1, but then you cannot iterate directly like this. Okay, so even if you try to do that, okay, print line, okay, and then value is this number. Okay, so let's iterate through this, and now if I run this, value. Okay. Then vector also has other, let's say methods like, for instance, dot iterator. Okay, you can use the iterator and then use that iterator to loop through this item. Okay. So let's run this. Okay, you're getting 10, 20. So you can use the iterator to iterate through the value. Okay, within the vector. Right. Okay. Now, if you want to get say a specific value at some index, okay, so value at an index. Okay. So how do you go about it? Let's say index is 1. Okay, so that means I should be getting the value 20, right? So how to get that value? So print line value at index 1 is this, and I say v1. Okay. Immediately you'll see that local variable is similar. Oh, sorry, v1. Okay, so you can use indexing into this, and now value at index 1 is 20. So if you see, you can actually take the vector, put an index, and get a value. Okay, but there is an issue with this. So for instance, okay, let's say if I put at index, let's say 100. If it's an array, the compiler can catch it, but if it's a vector, it doesn't, because it's a dynamic data structure. So the compiler has no way of knowing that there is no index 100 over there. And if you try to run this, okay, see, the main panic that index out of bounds error has come up. Okay, that is where, so what will happen is your program will crash. So the other safe way of accessing the element, okay, is at index, let's say 100, and what you do is you use the dot get method, get followed by the index, let's say 100. Okay, so what does this get do? Okay, so get, what it does, it actually returns an option. Okay, and this slice index is the output. So returns the reference to an element or subslice depending on the type of index. If given a position, okay, returns a reference to that element at that position, or none if it is out of bounds, right? So when you see the documentation also, it's pretty clear about that. So if you go in here, okay, where is the collection? Okay, so to look at this, there are some examples given in here. For a vector, now why is it taking so much time?
Yeah, go up. No, in rest book there is an example of get reading element of vector.
Reading element.
Yeah.
So you can just get. Okay, so what you get is actually an option enum. Okay, so what you will have to do is, you cannot directly print it out. Instead, you will have to take that option enum, and then you have to. So option enum has got a value called sum, and then you have another option called none. Okay, so I can use this now. So I cannot use directly this in the print line. So what I have to do is let, or I can just say v1 dot get, and then I say 100, and I match it. Then I say sum, and then a value. And I match it. Can I say, okay. Print line. Value is value, and the other option is none. So print line, no such value. Now if I run this, it says no such value. So now using this get is a safer way of doing it. Okay, it's a safer way of doing it. So that what happens is you can actually test it whether you are actually getting some value or you're not. See, this value is again, remember, this is just a parameter name. You can give any name here. Okay, it can be X or Y or whatever it is. Okay, and if I give, say, index, let's say 2, I should get 99, right? See that the value is 99. Okay, right. What's option enum? Okay, Ritika, you have to read the documentation. Anyway, going further, you will see the usage of option, and there is another enum called as result, which are very commonly used. So both these you will see. Okay. Now, so this is when you have this, what to say, vector using the vector new, and then you push the item. But suppose I want to create a vector initialized with certain values directly. Okay. So how do I go about it? So to do that, okay, creating a vector with a list of values. So for that, there is a vec macro that is defined. So I can always say let, okay, vector v2 is assigned. We have a vec macro, vec, and then you give a list of values. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can just print it out. And vector v2 is v2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So using this vec macro, okay, creates a vector containing arguments. So whatever values you give. Again, remember, a vector has to be of a certain type. So for instance, if I put 6.3 like this and save it, I'm going to get an error. Okay. Also, one more thing I want to say. So therefore, okay, just a minute. If I put say 6.6 like this and I save this, you see the error there. Expected integer found floating point number. Again, vector is also a data structure that contains the same type. It's the homogeneous type. Now, if I take this out, okay, then automatically what happens is it is actually V2 is a vector of I32. But suppose I do not want I32, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they can be represented with just 8 bits, right? So what you do is, for the very first value, okay, you give a type annotation. You say U8. That means you're saying this value is unsigned integer 8-bit unsigned integer. Okay. The moment you do that, the vector becomes type U8. Okay. And then if you see, you just run this and nothing will change. Okay. Now, suppose if I did it like this, 5, 5, 5, like this. Now, immediately you'll start seeing an error. It's an overflow. Literal 5 does not fit into the type U8 because its range is 0 to 255. This also is done by the compiler itself, because an 8-bit integer can only go from 0 to 255. Right? So that is also taken care of by the compiler. So you can see, I mean, if you start using Rust coming from other language backgrounds, the way this compiler works is absolutely fantastic. Okay. Just save this. So the moment it says U8, the hardcode. So when you're using a vec macro to create a vector and you want the data type to be a specific data type, you do the type annotation with the very first value. Then automatically, okay, it will know that, hey, you intend to create a vector with unsigned 8-bit integers. Okay, so all the values will be tested against those. Right? Okay, any question? Okay, there's no question. Okay, so this is how you use vectors. Now, what is the use of the vector? So basically, array has fixed size. Okay, it is faster. Vector is a dynamic structure where you can add more and more items. Okay, add items, you can remove elements from it and do all kinds of stuff. Okay, just like string, vector also contains 3 parts. One is the pointer to the actual heap memory where the vector is created. Second is the actual data. Okay, that is length of the vector. And the third is what is the capacity. So you can actually check that also. Okay, so let's say print line. Okay, of course, that is implementation detail. You will not be able to access it. Okay, so we can print line. To length and vector capacity. V2 dot length function and then V2 dot capacity. You can actually check the length and the capacity as well. Okay. Now let's run this one. Length is 5, capacity is 5. Let me add one more item. 6. And then run this. Capacity. At some point in time, you will find that the capacity will be more than the length. Okay. The capacity is the additional, apart from this 6 values that you have given, there will be more than those values also. In probably 6, 7, 8 like this. And let me check. Capacity is also coming like this. But once the vector grows to a certain extent, additional capacity will be allocated. Okay, and it also depends upon how the heap memory is being organized. Okay, so there are some internal algorithms which take care of all this. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, any questions in here, please? Okay, there are no questions. Okay. So this is about vectors. So let me just and now let's see the hash. As hello. Oh. Okay. So now let's look at the hash map. Okay. So a hash map is also called as an associative array. Okay. So you have pairs of values. There is the key and then followed by the value. Okay. So how to create it? You just say you have to use the std collections hash map. Okay. And then you create the hash map using the hash map new, and then inside of it you insert values. The key can be any enumerable type, but important thing is all the keys must be of the same type. Okay. And value can be anything that you want, right? So, and how do you access the values? Okay. So to access the value, you just give the what is the scores.get, and then you get the okay. And okay, so let's and then you can also iterate through this, okay, and then you can print out this value, right? So let me just so we can create let's just copy this code.
Sir, also before that, can you please take up the question? I think many questions have the same doubt.
Difference between length and capacity. What is the use of U8 means unsigned 8-bit integer. Okay. So let me show you. Here I said, see, if I don't put this U8, what happens is by default any integer value will be taken as 32-bit integer. Okay. But I want to explicitly create a vector with 8-bit integers. And in that case, what I need to do is I have to use this type annotation on the very first value. Okay. Very first value. And then automatically it will know that you intend to create a vector with 8-bit integers. And all these are 8-bit integers. Okay. Shivkumar, you are asking what is the difference between length and capacity? As I mentioned, see what happens is the difference between length and capacity is that when you are creating a dynamic data structure, okay, length refers to the actual number of elements. So let's say I'm creating a vector of say integer, right? And I've got say for example, if you take this case 8, okay. So which means what is the length of the vector? Length of the vector refers to the number of elements. Okay. But internally what happens is when So, and also because this is a dynamic data set, what will happen? This will get created in the heap. Okay. Now, what actually happens is in the heap, you want to put this vector with the 8 elements. Internally, what compiler will do for optimization purposes, you need 8 integer storage. It will actually internally what it will do is based upon its own optimization algorithm. What it does, it actually creates a vector with say additional space, so that later on when you push elements, okay, it is easy for it to do. It doesn't have to relocate the whole thing in memory from one place to another. So it's an optimization technique to improve the runtime performance. So for instance, if I'm creating a vector of say 5 values, okay, so what it will do, it will actually create a vector where you can store 10 values, but it will actually store the values that you have given 5 values, and rest of the 5 locations will be uninitialized, so that later on when you want to put some items, okay, then what happens is it already has additional space for it. Okay, like think of it like this. Okay, think of it like this. Let's say you want to construct a house. Okay, and you want to construct a house and say 30 feet by 40 feet. Okay, so one is that you have the plot size exactly 30 feet by 40 feet. Then in that case, what will happen? You construct the house, but if you want to increase the dimensions of the house, I'm not talking about additional floors. You cannot do that, right? So what will happen is what you might think, okay, in future, suppose I want to increase the size of the house on the ground floor. Can I do that? If you have used up the entire space, you can't do that. Let's say, for instance, you have constructed the house. Okay, it has got sufficient parking for say 2-wheeler, but you don't have parking for say a car. And later when you buy a car, you'll have to keep it on the road, right? Because you don't have space. So now think about it. So thinking into future, what you do is, okay, so what I will do is I'll buy a bigger plot. Okay, let's say 60-40. I use 30-40 out of it, and another 30-40 is still left, right? So that in future, when you buy a car, you can still construct a garage. Okay, you don't have to move to a new house where you can park your car. It's the same principle it is used here as well. So the capacity means the total amount of values that it can actually store. What is the amount of values it can store, the number of values it can store. Length is how many values it is currently storing. I hope that answers the question. Shivkumar? So capacity will always be equal to or more than the length. Okay. Yes, but what is default capacity of vector? Okay, now remember, you have to look into the low-level documentation to find out. Okay, you have to go to the low-level documentation in order to find out, right? Which tells you about the algorithm which is being used, how it is being calculated. So this is a low-level stuff that you need to go. So you can Google it out. So what is the logic, and also remember the optimization in terms of having some capacity, okay, will actually change from version to version also. Okay, as the time goes by, there is always a possibility they might come up with a better optimized algorithm. So in which case they will do it like that. So you can see, so how do you create a hash map? First of all, you have to use the std collections hash map. Okay, and here hash map contains a key and a value. So you have to define what is the type of the key and what is the type of the value. So when you create hash map new like this, it automatically is saying hash map of string and I32. Okay. But what if I want to create a hash map with different type annotation? So you could do that. Let's say, for instance, I say let mute say numerics, and I say this is a hash map. Of, let's say I want to have I32. That would be the key type, and the value type is, let's say, a string. Okay. And then I can create. So this time I'm saying that my hash map, okay. Now, of course, I've not instantiated it, so variable does not need to be mutable because I've not used this. Okay, right. So this hash map by default, when you are creating, it takes the key as string type and the value to be I32. Okay, but if you want key of certain type, let's say I want to create a key with called numerics. Okay, and then you'll have to do it like this. So you'll have to mention, okay, my key is integer, but the value is string. Right? And how do you add value? So you use the insert to do that. Okay, so let's say numerics, okay, dot insert, and I want to say the key is integer, right? So I want to say this is, let's say, 1, and the value is sorry, 1 dot to string. Oh, like that. Yeah, and let me say numerics dot insert, okay. And the value, let's say it is 2. Like that. Okay. So when you want to iterate through the items, you can just give this, okay, for this key and then value in. Now you have to take a reference to this code because you need a, you don't want to take, you don't want to, you know, change ownership. You just want to borrow it, and then you can iterate through this and you can print the value. How to access an individual value? Okay. So let's say let number is, let's say, 1. Okay. So what I've done is the numerics is a map, okay, which contains an integer and it's equivalent in English, right? So if I put 1, I get 1. If I put 2, I get 2. Okay. So let's say line number is in English is, and then let's say number and numerics. Okay. Now then I say sorry. Okay. Expected I32 count integer. A number is right there. Yeah. Right there. That's my side. Yeah. So you cannot directly index into it. So you have to use. Still I'm getting this right. Okay. Consider borrowing here. Okay. It's expecting a number reference. Okay, right. So let's run this program, see. Oh, what happened? I didn't see it. Anything wrong? Why it's not running? Yeah, dictionary in Python. Yes, Bhuvan, it is similar to that. Key and value are mutable or immutable. Now, the question of mutability doesn't really arise. The reason being, what happens is this for loop is also not running. What is the issue here? So one is, okay, so let me answer this question like this. Key and value are mutable or immutable. So basically key is fixed and the value can be changed. Okay, right? Key is fixed and the value can be changed. The key cannot be changed. Once inserted, you can only remove that. Okay, so the way this operates is a bit different. Okay, why it's not printing? This is strange. I have saved this, right? So let's look at it. Let me just check this out. It's supposed to print. Why? What is? This is strange. Okay, so let me just comment everything that I inserted. Is there again debugging going on? Okay, so then. What is the warning? Function main is never used. Oh. See, this whole thing is function main, right? So I put a function main in here. Oh, what a mistake. And so I think sorry guys. So actually, the code I copied already had that main function definition. So I ended up putting main inside main. Okay, so okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so the number 1 in English is 1. Okay, so hash maps are quite useful because, say, for instance, you can actually check whether this number exists or not, something like that. Okay, so for instance, let's say whether this key, so print line, sorry, okay, does key 5 exist in numeric? Okay, so let's check this out. Numeric dot oh, again we have to do because it's an option. So okay, anyway, so you can actually check for the existence of values in a map, and that can be very useful. Okay, hash maps and ownership, so that is just fine. Updating the hash map. So if you see here, you insert blue and then 10. Similarly, again you insert blue and then 10. What will happen is, sorry, 25. And then if you look at it, so basically you are using the same key. So whatever is the latest assignment, that value is what you will get. Okay. You can also add a key and value only if a key is not present. Okay. So here you can use this this key and then or insert. So if the key is not there, then only it will insert. So what will happen is, see here, first the scores has got a key blue with a value of 10, right? And then they're saying scores dot entry, using this entry. Okay, you can say, okay, say yellow or insert. So it says that, okay, the entry yellow, if it is not there, then insert, okay, yellow with a value of 50. Again, we are doing the same thing using the scores dot entry. Okay, so here blue is already there, so it will not change the value. So now if you see here, when you print it out, for yellow you will get 50 because yellow was not there at this point in time, but blue, it was already there, so it will not insert the value 50. Instead, blue, the key blue will be associated with value 10 only. Okay, updating a value based on an old value, that also is possible. Okay, right? Then there are some hashing functions. So this is what you have to read through. Okay, what kind of hashing functions are being used? Okay, basically, why we call them as hash maps is because internally the keys are hashed, and the hashes are actually used in order to essentially, do the searches of these values. So whenever you need searching, then hashes are very useful for searching values. Okay, right? So go through this documentation, and you'll get sufficient information as to how this is being used. What if we repeated the same keys and the values like blue 10 and blue 10? Okay. Now you see, if you are using say okay, let me just so blue 10 and blue 10. So it already sees that for the key blue, 10 has already been inserted. Okay. Again, if you insert the value still the key is also there. the value is also same. So it will not do anything. It will remain as is. Okay. It will actually, so basically changing value from 10 to 10 only, nothing happens, right? So internally what it does, it sees, hey, blue as the key is already there and its value is 10. Again, when you say, okay, blue, it says, hey, the key is there, but the value is also same. So it will not do anything. It will simply omit. Because it's like changing 10 back to 10 only. So it has no meaning. Okay. It will not do an internal assignment. It knows that what you're doing is just a repetition of the same value. So it will just leave it out. Okay. Okay, guys. So that's about it from my side. If there are any more questions. See, there's one more question here. If it change the value of type is different, yeah, you'll get an error. You'll get an error. Yeah, it can be repeated. Yes, true. It can be repeated. You won't get any error. It will simply be ignored. And Abdul, obviously, because you see, when we create the hash map, what we did, we have given the type of the key and what is the data type for the value. So for value or for the key, you cannot give any other data type. The moment you do that, you will get an error. Okay. Any other question, please?
So
And
Selva
one more
sir,
thing. Okay.
yeah, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, just one more second.
Mhm.
See, remember when you're using Hashmap, okay, the order in which you're inserting the values is not the order in which you will get the values, because internally hashes are implemented as trees. And so what happens, so essentially what will happen is it will depend upon the traversal order. And so it is just like a BST sort of a thing. Okay. So the hash maps do not maintain the order of insertion, whereas the sequences do. Okay. Right. Yeah, Praveen, you can go ahead.
No, I was just watching all of this, and I was trying to write something in JavaScript, and
Mhm.
one such peculiar error was coming, and I was struggling. I struggled for hours, and
Mhm.
lastly, I found that instead of one dash, I had given equal to sign there, basically.
Okay. Right.
So, sorry. So
Yeah,
I think
so these things happen even with seasoned programmers. So
I know. So I think I'm sure people who are watching, this live, they definitely would appreciate that if people like you who have been veteran in the industry, if they can also struggle at times while coding. So I think it is
Yeah.
something which I think which should be a lesson for everyone, and
Mm.
and that's how you kind of that's how you even if you become very seasoned programmer, then also you will struggle. So don't get disheartened. And I only thing I will suggest here on top of what Selva sir has been talking about is basically don't leave this year. Basically, so you really have to go and try writing simple codes first, and then try to bring complexity in your code. Okay, think of business problems, maybe simple ones in the beginning. Because why are these things important? I'll tell you, guys. When you are done with these, all these Rust important sessions, after that we'll get into Substrate, which is the framework for Polkadot, and you will be leveraging all of these things that you are learning here. So my suggestion is that whatever you are learning here, and these 10 days of session basically in a structured manner should give you a lot of confidence. Once you get into if you are just taking these 2 hours of sessions here, and after that you are not going and working yourself, then I think you are not gaining as much as you could if you go and spend some more time. So it may be little hectic for you guys right now, But I think that is the best way to kind of learn these things, and then get into when you start the substrate session. I think this is 3 or 4 sessions away, I think, or 2 sessions away. You should definitely be freeing your hands up here. Okay. Yeah.
So absolutely. So the important thing is, see, even I made mistakes and I debugged the code, used Google to search for the answers, and then finally, a couple of things I want to tell you. 2 main things. One is, it's just that as you do more and more development, okay, there is no such thing as, you know, as if a seasoned programmer will not make mistakes. Even I just showed you, right? I myself made mistakes. So what you have to understand is, you may take hours and I can do that in minutes because of the experience that I've got with debugging. That is one thing. Other thing, if you see here, inside main, so this code was not running because inside main I had defined another main function, right? This is again why this happened. I'll show you why this happened. So the code, this one which I copied, okay, right? When you copy and paste it, actually there is a main function in here which you don't see. If you see here, there is an eye icon in here. It says show hidden lines. So when you show the hidden lines, you see there. So the function, it's actually a complete function. Okay. And so what happened inside main, there was another main function sitting inside, and that's why the whole code was not running. Okay. The only thing is, as you get, so this is again, frankly speaking, I normally do not use copy paste at all in my code. Even if I have to retype 50 lines of code, I will do that because I know it can lead to subtle bugs which are extremely difficult to debug. Believe me. Okay, copy paste has, you know, I call this as a peril of copy and paste. Okay, I don't do that at all. But here we have paucity of time, and we want to get into the demonstration explanation. That's why I'm doing it. Otherwise, when I'm doing it on my own on the production, okay, in production, I never do copy paste. I would rather spend more time typing multiple lines of code all over again than do a copy paste, because I have seen and I have encountered, okay, subtle, you know, errors coming into the or bugs getting into the code, which are extremely difficult to you know, debug simply because we used copy and paste. Here's the second thing I want to add. Praveen sir, would you like to add something to it for the debugging case?
No, absolutely. I think I also agree. You know, it is always a temptation to go and you know, take the code from somewhere. But then I think we should avoid that, especially in the beginning. Now, Selva sir can still afford to do that because he has been programming for 25 years, 30 years. But I think you should not do that, because one thing is that the mistake that Selva sir talked about. The second problem that I see, that, you know, and I have seen personally myself, you know, I have been coding in different languages. I have, Selva sir, I told you, right, I started with COBOL, you know, so many years back, right? So the problem that I see, that if you don't write every line of code, then you don't learn that basically. Your learning becomes very slow. So I think every line you should write in the beginning, and then only you will start feeling the code. Now, feeling the code is very important. Okay, I was trying to create something, you know, in JavaScript, and you know, this was 30 lines of code, Selva sir, and I made sure that I write every line of code even without even looking. In fact, what you should do right now, once you write the code once, then you should delete it and then again try to write it. And that's, at least that's what I think. I don't know whether Selva sir agrees with me, but in the beginning, this will give you a lot of confidence.
True, absolutely true. That's very important. That's absolutely important. Also, you know, people like me and Praveen sir, who have worked with multiple languages, we run into another kind of problem. I still remember once during a demonstration, I was actually, you know, having a training session on SQL Server, and I had to write a you know, stored procedure. And guess what? What happened? My code was not running. Then later I found out the syntax I was using was the Oracle's SQL. Okay, whereas SQL Server uses Transact SQL, TSQL. So these sort of things also happen. So if you're actually, you know, doing multiple languages, these sort of things actually happen. Okay, so there's another you know, and also remember, I'll tell you something. What I have learned in my programming experience is that, you know, the beginners always make silly mistakes. The more experienced you are, okay, If your code has, so a beginner's code will have, smaller mistakes. Experienced people's code will have blunders, because the common mistakes they will not make. They will make such arcane mistakes, okay, or bugs in the code, which are very difficult to trace. I'm telling you, this practically I have seen it. So if I have a bug in my code, it will be very difficult to debug. Right. So because experienced people, they know the logic and then flow, and somewhere small mistake is what actually ends up as a bug in the code.
Which are typically very difficult to find, basically,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So guys, so I think, thank you, Silva sir, for today's wonderful session. And I'll just take a couple of minutes before I give it to Deepak. Look, when I was designing this program, a few months back, the only one thing that I had in mind, that people who are seriously doing this program, I think you definitely would have fantastic future in Web3. That I think you can take my personal commitment. But what I always say, that you will have to reciprocate to us with your genuine and honest effort. If you are sincere about yourself, if you are sincere about what you are doing here, believe me, Web3 industry is just looking for people like you. Just looking for people. I'll tell you, in fact, we work with several industry leaders in blockchain, and they always tell me that we don't find people who are willing to put in effort, who understand things, who understands things from the basic. And that's what exactly we are trying to do here, that you go and understand the base of it. Unless now all these are steps. If somebody says, okay, no, it is only Rust, I'll tell you, Rust is used in Polkadot heavily. Rust is used in Near Foundation protocol. Rust is used in Solana. Rust is used in Aptos. You name it. So Rust programming language is going to be the foundation for Web3 programming language. Now, it really has been Solidity and Ethereum based programming languages for so many years. But now I think the way, and of course, you would have already understood by now in last 5 sessions, why is Rust so vital, and why do people and protocols, lean towards using Rust? Because Rust can do things which JavaScript can never do. JavaScript does not give you that control that you really want, what Rust provides you. So Rust is, I think learning Rust is a no-brainer, and you would experience that, what we are talking about. But the only request I again tell you, at the cost of repetition, that don't take this session just like any other session. And our promise to you is that we will make you, and I always say that, and Abhishek Pitti, IBC Media CEO, he always says that we are going to make you industry ready, and that accountability lies on our head. But then we definitely want you to take it very seriously, take the quizzes very seriously, go and do the assignments, and don't stop at the assignment. Don't just stop at one assignment. Go and try 5 different assignments. I'll tell you, take today whatever you have studied, be it Enum, be it vector, or all such topics. Go and do five things, in each thing, in each of these topics. Doesn't take a lot, because we have given you 1 day of break. Deepak, if I am correct, next session is not tomorrow, right?
I think it will be on Monday, I guess.
Yeah.
It's on Monday, so you have got whole weekend. Now it depends whether you're using this weekend, apart from having fun, of course, which Web3 also encourages you to have fun, because Web3 is a very, very, all jack but no play. It's not like that. It always says that, okay, you will imagine people in Web3 sitting on a sea beach and coding with their Apple laptops, Mac laptops. People, working in some, top class restaurants, and taking a table in the corner and doing the programming. I mean, that's how Web3 works. They have no constraints in, your lifestyle and all that. So the point is that if you are getting to that, you need to do some hard work. And I don't think anybody, takes it so personally, which, we IBC Media take this as a personal thing. right? So with all these words, Deepak Singh, I think over to you.
Yeah, the
Yes, sir.
truth is
Thank you.
actually just I'd like to add. I'd just like to add that to all the participants. Believe me, frankly speaking, there are millions of dollars in the industry up for grabs, and there are not many people with the right skill set, okay, to do that. So this is a platform which gives you the the skills that you need for Web3. Otherwise, you become experts in this, you can make millions of dollars. Believe me, that is the ultimate reality.
Absolutely. And thank you, Selva sir, for that. And Praveen sir, of course. And millions of dollars. And furthermore, with IBC itself, once you start building, we have our own sponsors and tracks where you can start with thousands of dollars. So we will teach you how to build in Polkadot. We are teaching you how to build in Rust, and that will be used for substrate, which you can then use to participate in the tracks that we have from Polkadot, and then other tracks such as Chingari. So all that you're learning here will be useful, which will help you earn prizes that we have from our sponsors. So that's the entire motive. So we are not just leaving you we won't be leaving you just with the process where you are able to build the dApps. We'll also help you earn and win in our ecosystem. It's all in our ecosystem itself. You don't have to go anywhere. That's what's brilliant about IBC Media. We saw a shortage of skill, and we thought, let's work on it and build it and give that opportunity to everyone. Okay, without wasting any more time, I already see a question. When will the quiz link be sent? Deepak Chaudhary, if you can do the honors. Yes, guys, we have
And
a quiz. We also have the assignment link. So what you will do is you'll first use your time to do the quiz, and then because the assignment is basically open until the next session, so you can take your time for doing the assignment. You can revise and get back to the session and take a look if you need help with the assignment. But then quiz is something that you should start right away, and it will be open for the next 20 minutes. So yeah, make sure you use your time nicely to finish the quiz.
Yeah, so one question has come from Shiva. So, sir, everyone using Ethereum blockchain environment, why we chosen Polkadot? No, it's not true, because I think things started with Ethereum. You understand that in 2014 or 15, when Ethereum started, the Solidity came, and they were the first people to introduce programmability in smart contract in the blockchain world. So of course, once they started, so that was the only programming language where everybody was going, and Ethereum ecosystem was growing pretty fast. L2s came, ZK based technologies came there. So I think, of course, they have the advantage of being a big ecosystem, but that does not mean that they have some limitations as well. It's not that they don't have limitations, and that's where I think that's how Shiva, my way of looking at it is that the technologies keeps on advancing. There are different requirements they start coming into scenario, and then of course people start looking at all these things with an intention to improve, and Rust brings that, and that is where it is not there is no I mean, it's not that without any reason protocols are going for Rust. So basically, it's not without any reason that these protocols are going for Rust based programming languages. So I think that's how technologies progress, and we definitely should look towards the future and see what is important, right? And then kind of learn. And it's always, I think, if you learn Rust, then of course other programming languages are pretty easy for you to kind of go and get handle on. So in my opinion, if you are an expert programmer in Web3, then typically you would appreciate many of these programming languages. So let's not get kind of hung up on that. It's pretty easy for you if you understand the complex system like Rust and Substrate. It becomes pretty easy for you to appreciate, first of all, other programming languages which are based on Rust, and of course non-Rust also. So I think focus on learning programming languages are very similar. Some syntactical differences leaving apart. I don't think there is much difference there. Yeah, Deepak.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And Praveen, sir, I know you always point out, and maybe you missed it slightly, that the founders are basically pretty much the core is from the same source.
Absolutely. And that's very important
Yes.
point. The founder who started Polkadot, Gavin Wood, he was in fact, Ethereum's white paper was written by co-founder of Ethereum.
He was the co-founder of Ethereum. Yes.
Absolutely, and the white paper was written by him only. So white paper of Ethereum. In fact, I was going through the white paper of Ethereum few days back only once again, and he was the person who had written that. I saw his name, Gavin Wood. The point is that, and he spending so much time architecting the solution of Ethereum, he understood there are issues. And of course, I'm not saying it is a problem, because any system matures like that only. It is impossible to create something in the first iteration as the best possible thing. No, it doesn't happen. You really, the technology has to go with advancement. And I can tell you, many of you may not really appreciate, but then we have seen the migration from, and Selva sir, I have seen the migration from mainframe computer to personal computer, to mobility-based devices, to cloud, and all these things. So could you have come to mobile-based solutions in the first phase? No, of course. I mean, these things happen progressively only, guys. Yeah, Selva sir.
Yeah, true. In fact, even I have used VAX CMS and using punch card, okay, which you see in the history of computing.
Yeah, so you went maybe 10 years
so
behind. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think probably me, Praveen sir, no, we are fortunate to have seen such amount of technological growth that we could not have even imagined. 30 years back, what was science fiction is the reality today.
Absolutely. And I will tell you a story here. I think if you guys, I know many of people are taking quiz, but allow me 2 minutes. I'll tell you a story. So one of my bosses, Selva Saab, when I was when I started my coding journey in 1996, basically, then he was 20 years senior to me, right? That time. So he used to tell me a story that when he used to write programs, so in those days, like you said, punch card. So nowadays you write a code and you type a command that cargo run and cargo compile or whatever, right? It takes you 5 seconds to compile. In those days, what used to happen, once there were machines which used to punch the code in the punch card. There was a card reader. Okay. Now people will write the code, they will punch it in the punch card, and then they will go to a place where they will insert these punch cards, and then they will run the program. And you will of course have to pay for that, whatever arrangement, and then you will see the outcome. It is 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. Now my boss told me that what used to happen, that if you make a single mistake, if you missed a comma, if you missed a semicolon, then your whole, and it was very difficult to go and find a slot in the card reader to run your machine, because there are a lot of queues. Everybody used to try to run the program, right? So if you make a mistake, then you will again get your program execution time a week later. Okay. So people used to be very, very careful when they were writing the program, so that their syntax was not wrong. So I think from that point in time to this point in time, there has been enormous amount of technological progression, that you guys may not really have known also. But again, so where you are right now, from here to the next 20 years, now things are going to be again changing a lot. You all of you know about the AI, Chat GPT, Google coming up with its own. So I think now the different level of transformation will happen now also. So it is not like it is a pond, it is a river which keeps flowing, right? More and more people keep coming, more and more people keep innovating, making things better. And guys, this is how it has been for centuries and centuries of the human civilization. So what we're talking about is not new. Okay. And any technological innovation that happens, people kind of take it very, very suspiciously. People don't when bicycle was first innovated, it was a story of a US village. What happened, people didn't like the bicycle, okay, in the sense that people, and there was a reason for that. So what used to happen, that It was done in a village, a specific village. And the story goes like this. I was reading in one of the books sometime. And what was the story? That people started, saying that, okay, bicycles are bad. If you are riding on bicycle, then you are exerting, then you will, your face glow will go away, and people will not marry you, and all those problems people started talking about. Then somebody said, okay, let's go and find the reason. What exactly the reason? Actual reason was that it was a small village, and there was no communication mechanism that time. There was no cars, there was no vehicles. So what used to happen, that the women in that village, they were forced to marry the men in the same society. I mean, that was the kind of convention that time. And what people started feeling about it, that now if there are bicycles now, people will, the women of that village or that city, they will be able to go and go and do shopping, and they will get exposed to the outside world. And then they may start marrying people, who are not from that state, that place. So now these are small things which really come into picture. But then, of course, there is always a tendency for people to oppose any new technology that really comes up. So now we are going through the same phase right now. People are talking about chat gpt, ais. Are they good, are they bad? I mean, the time will tell that. But then definitely technological advancements, in my opinion, cannot be stopped. They will continue happening, through the ages, right? Yeah.
Wow. So guys, just so you know, because of such a wonderful guftagu for the past 5 to 7 minutes between Praveen sir and Silva sir, we are extending the quiz for more 5 7 minutes because, sir, I'm sure the conversation was such that I don't think people were able to focus on the quiz because we were so
My
hooked in this.
apologies
No,
for
no,
that.
no.
Yeah.
I started checking it and the cycle story, and we have come a full circle now. It
Yeah.
started with the people might lose their face glow, and now it's the
Mhm.
opposite. You will get a glow when you start
I know.
cycling.
Absolutely. Yeah. So beautiful. I think so. I'm sure I will be seeing some wonderful startups coming from this cohort. I will be very happy when somebody tells me that, I have created a billion-dollar company. I was a part of, CEP with IBC Media, and now I own a company. I think we will be very happy to, see that, guys. And not only being feeling happy, but we will be very excited to help you get there. Now that's the intent here. So please be in the journey, and I do want to appreciate all the people who are performing excellent in the quizzes, and you guys are giving us confidence that yes, we are doing the right thing. And I will encourage other people to work hard to get into that spot of, the leaderboard. That will be very, very good. Yeah.
The coveted leaderboard.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out one thing is, guys, please code in Rust and then submit the assignment. Most of you are code in Java, C, C++, and you are submitting those coded. So please code in Rust and then submit the assignment.
Yeah, so guys who are doing the assignment, first of all, you need to know that we are not worried about you getting the wrong answer. So this is just for you to test your own skills. It's like a small, simple homework for you. So you test your skills. You get the wrong answer, then you should just simply ask on Discord, and why did you get the wrong answer, or what is the right answer, and we will help you out in the same. So take it from that point of view, take it as a learning experience instead of just completing a task and just pasting an answer, or just closing the form that, okay, fine, one job is done. So just try to learn and make use of the test to evaluate yourself. Even if you don't have the right answer immediately, you can obviously connect with us, ask us, and we will help you out. So look at it in that manner. And similarly for the guys who are attending the quizzes. So once you submit the quiz, I mean, obviously after that, you can put down your questions in the Discord, and we will address those questions if you have any queries regarding any of the questions in the quiz. So, I mean, we are here to help. So, don't just do it mechanically. Try to understand why we asked that particular question and why there is a certain answer to that question. So, try to follow the process from whatever you're learning from Salvasa here. Yeah, so on that note, Praveen sir, Selva sir, thank you for joining in. If you guys have something else to catch on to, then please continue. We will be here for some more time. So
Thank you,
kindly feel
Deepak.
free to
Yeah,
drop off
thank
the
you,
call.
Deepak.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Selva
Deepak.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you, Deepak. Yeah, bye-bye.
Okay, guys, have a great weekend. Bye bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you.